Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Where'd you get that mistletoe? It's July!
And we're giving away a bunch of gifts to you, the audience.
As a sign of our appreciation and need for constant validation.
So head on over to our Patreon page.
Because every Monday in July, we're going to be posting exclusive content.
For free!
What are we giving away this week, Mariya?
This week, we're sharing our initial thoughts on the new Pixar trailer.
If you want to know why we're excited, but cautious, head on over to the Patreon.
We'll see you over at patreon.com/chaoticsilly.
So go check it out right now.
For free!
I'm gonna take this Santa suit off now, Mariya. It's so freaking hot.
Why are you wearing a Santa suit for an audio-only podcast?
I commit, damn it. Now help me get the beard off.
Merry Christmas in July.
How do you begin a discussion about this, Mariya? How do you begin a discussion about Avatar: The Last Airbender, or now just The Last Airbender? Thanks, James Cameron. How do you begin something like as pivotal and as important as Avatar? It's Avatar. It's like the thing. The thing.
Okay.
All I'm saying is, Avatar is really, really good.
Yep.
And we watched an episode of it.
We did. What did we watch? Which episode did we watch, James?
We watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, Season 1, Episode 12, The Storm. Original release date, June 3rd, 2005. Created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian... Oh, I'm gonna need help with that name. I'm gonna need help with that name, Mariya.
What?
Konitso? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. And Brian Konitso. This episode was written by previous Hell in a Cell person, Aaron. I forgot how to pronounce his last name. Ehaz. Aaron Ehaz. Written by Aaron Ehaz of the Dragon Prince fame.
Yep.
And this episode was directed by a woman.
Woo!
A woman, Mariya. It was directed by Lauren McMullen.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can talk about it. What happened, Mariya?
So this episode, this is from the first season. So, Aang is getting nightmares because, he ran away when he was chosen to be the Avatar and then disappeared for 100 years. So has a little self-doubt. So he has these crazy nightmares, and then, everyone wakes up and they realize they don't have food. So they go to a fishing village.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're trying to buy food, but they realize they don't have any money, and they then hear sort of this old fishing couple arguing about whether or not there's going to be a storm, and this lady's like, "There's going to be a storm, I can feel it in my bones," and and the guy's like, "You're crazy, lady, I'm gonna go fish and get us some money." And so she's like, "No, I'm not coming with you. I don't want to die." So Sokka decides that he's going to go help those fishermen so that maybe they'll get paid and they can buy some food. On the other side, Zuko and Iroh, Zuko, perpetually exiled, is on a ship with Iroh trying to find the Avatar, and he's being mean to his crew, and the crew doesn't like him, and he doesn't like the crew, and Iroh's trying to put out fires on both ends. I made a pun, James. Anyway,
I got it.
And Iroh's like, there's gonna be a storm, and everyone's like, crazy old man. And they keep going. And eventually there is a storm, and on both ends. Oh wait, No, and then the old man insults the Avatar because Aang is like, you should listen to the old lady, and he's like, no, you suck. You ran away for 100 years, and so Aang becomes all sad and goes to brood in a cave, and Katara follows him while Sokka goes onto the ship with the old man to get some fish, and the storm approaches and. They're on sea and everything is crazy. There's waves and thunder and lightning, and Iroh does the cool light bending stuff. It's great. And basically explains to the crew why Zuko was exiled and why he has like a weird scar on his face. And on the other side, Katara tries to talk to Aang, and he explains why he left, and Katara tries to comfort him when the old lady comes, and she's like, well, my husband's not back and it's getting crazy outside and you have to help him. And so the old lady stays in the cave while Katara and Aang go and save the fishermen, and Aang goes all super avatar and gets them out of the storm. And on the other side, Iroh sort of has they're trying to leave the storm, and they see the ship where Iroh and Zuko are, and Zuko realizes that if they stay here any longer, his entire crew is going to die. So he basically tells the captain to go to the eye of the storm so that they don't all die, even though it's in the opposite direction of where the Avatar is going. That's it.
I hate to, butt in on this, Mariya.
Uh-huh.
But you forgot something.
What did I forget? Who did I forget?
The entirety of Zuko's backstory.
Right. Well, I mean, everybody already knows that.
Well, you're doing a summary, Mariya.
Okay, fine. So Zuko's backstory is basically he wants to go and sit with his uncle in the strategy room where they're trying to strategize against the other kingdoms, and one of the commanders wants to use a battalion of new recruits to distract the army, the enemy, so that the good recruits can go and take over the city from the back. But that would mean that the entire squadron of new recruits would die, and Zuko speaks up even though he was told not to, and has to fight his father in Agni Kai, and gets his eye burned and then gets exiled because he has betrayed their honor or something along those lines.
He spoke out against symbolically he spoke out against his father, even though he was talking
to the commander, and basically because he would not fight his father. His father was like, you're not strong enough and you have to prove yourself, so I'm going to exile you and you're going to bring back the Avatar and thus your honor.
I think that was just Zuko's idea, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think his dad actually
his dad's
told him.
thing.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, that his exile would be lifted if he brought back the Avatar.
Okay. Which, at the time, was probably just the Avatar's dead. Who cares?
Right.
He'll never come back.
Exactly.
But then, of course, Aang came back, and yeah. Anyway. Are you done?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the end of it.
That's about it. Okay.
Yep.
It's a pretty significant episode in terms of Avatar lore.
Yeah, because you get two different backstories.
Two different yet pretty similar backstories at the same time.
A little bit.
There's some parallels.
It's very interesting parallels, for sure.
Yeah.
Between the two characters.
And the show has always hinted at the parallels between Aang and Zuko.
Right. Where they both kind of need to prove themselves. Mm-hmm. But to two very different parties. Where Aang has to prove himself to everyone that he, not on purpose, but inevitably abandoned for 100 years, and Zuko, to his honor and family, has to prove himself to be a part of his family, essentially. Which is bullshit, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. How long has it been since you watched Avatar?
I was actually a very recent. So I finished watching the Avatar in October last year.
Oh, jeez.
So very recently.
Oh, jeez.
Because I
watched it when
hadn't
was
watched
on.
it. Like, I'd heard of it. I just didn't have a place to watch it from.
Right.
And I'd seen a couple episodes here and there. But I never actually sat down and watched the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Until, like, it came on Netflix, and I was like, okay, I have easy access to this, so I can watch it now.
Yeah, bring Avatar back to Netflix. God damn it.
Yeah, it was on the Canadian Netflix. It wasn't even on the American Netflix. It's still there on the Canadian Netflix.
What?
Yeah.
Then why did I have to?
I don't know.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't know.
Because I bought it from Amazon.
Oh my god.
What?
I thought that you already, like, had it or was, like, an Amazon Prime thing.
No.
Oh my god.
Did you clap?
No, I did I slapped my forehead.
Oh.
Like, I face palmed.
It sounded like a clap.
Yeah, because it was pretty hard and my head's
God.
pretty flat.
Well, jeez. Anyway, it was $1. It was $2, so it's fine.
Not feel bad. Thanks,
Why?
James.
Well, yeah, I guess you should kind of feel bad.
I didn't know.
It's all right. You saw me anyway. Back to the Avatar.
I'll pay
stuff.
you $2. That's fine.
Okay, fair enough. When we meet up
Mm-hmm.
next, you can buy me a cheese Danish.
Okay, sure.
Anyway, yeah, it's just going back after when was the last time I rewatched the series? It was a couple years ago, which is pretty shameful on my part. This is like Star Wars. You should be watching this show like
Once every year.
couple years. If something like that, yeah. If I could, I would. It's that good.
Right.
There's so much variety to it too.
Oh, definitely. It's a lot of fun to watch it. There's a lot of new characters showing up.
I will say, my only gripe about this one episode is that the acting in season 1 is still a little. They haven't got there yet.
Right. Like, they're getting there. It's sort of.
Yeah.
It's a little wonky.
Little wonky. Aang's voice actor in particular took a little while to get there.
Right.
Katara's hit and miss. Sometimes she's like spot on.
Right.
And other times she's a little flat.
Right.
Of course, Sokka's voice actor is just perfect.
I love that voice actor. He's just done such a good job of just being Sokka, just like.
Yeah. If it weren't for him, like, we don't praise voice actors that much because that's not like the point of the show, really.
Right.
But, you know, sometimes a character is made in the voice actor.
Definitely.
Role. And Sokka is definitely, it seems like one of those roles where the voice actor really informed the character to the point where it bled into the animation.
Right. That's fair. I enjoy Sokka as an interesting character. Like, his arc is very good too.
Oh yeah, he has a great arc.
His sort of like relationship with the fan fighting chick. I forget what her name is.
Suki.
Suki, yes. That jeez. Anyway, yeah, with Suki is also very like well developed, and it's not like rushed or just like, oh, we need to put a romantic plot in here. Let's just shove this thing.
No, it takes forever for them to actually like get together.
Exactly.
There was that weird point when they were trying to like push a Toph Sokka thing.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
remember that?
I do remember that a little bit.
Yeah, not a lot, but it was in like a few episodes. That was kind of weird. They dropped that pretty quickly.
Yeah. No, that was no. But Toph's great too. We didn't get to see much of her this
She's not in this
episode.
season.
I mean, yeah, because she's not in the season exactly. But she's cool. She's fun.
Yes.
She's a fun.
So probably the most interesting thing that happened during our recording was you were talking about the acne Kai.
Yes. Well, were we talking about like the word, or was it just because the word Agni, as it's anglicized, is comes from the Hindi word which is just like Agni, which means fire. So that was, I don't know, that was cool that they used that. It's because I was calling it like Agni Kai, because like it's to someone who speaks Hindi, that's blatantly what they're going for. But the anglicized pronunciation is like Agni Kai, and I was just like, it's not that different. The word's not that different. Like,
it's a little different.
I don't know. It's just
translating for a different language and audience, I guess.
I mean,
or whitewashing.
I would say it's not like a very difficult word. Like, you could have people say ugh all the time. Making that phonetic sound is not that hard. Like, if it was some other word, like, there's a lot of difficult to pronounce Hindi phonetics. I know that because I speak the language. And I understand why some words would be tweaked or like pronounced differently, because you're using English like phonetics. And that's fine. Like, for words like that, it's fine. It's just that if you're going to use it, and if it's easy enough for you to keep the original pronunciation, I personally would be happy if they did. It doesn't particularly bother me if they don't. But you can see where, like, little by little, the words lose the roots where they come from. Right. And by just keeping the phonetic the same, it's not, like, again, this isn't a difficult phonetic. So keeping it the same would require minimal effort and would maybe even add some flavor.
So, not to bring up that horrible live action movie.
Right.
But one of the most interesting like discussions that came out of that was the M. Night Shyamalan's what was I gonna say? He was looking at Avatar, The Last Airbender, through an Indian perspective, is what a lot of people attributed a lot of his changes to.
Okay.
And so you got Aang being changed to Ong in the movie. Did you see the movie?
I've seen it, but I saw it very, very long ago. I've seen it too long ago. I don't even remember much of it. And I know they went for the water princess arc, right? That's what they
Yeah, it was an adaptation of the first season.
Yeah. So I don't remember much of it.
Right. Well, he cast mostly, I don't know, mostly, but like the Fire Nation were mostly Indian actors.
Okay.
Even though the Fire Nation is based off of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Question mark.
Right.
I don't know. And a lot of the names were changed to a different sound, like Ong.
So like they were phonetically
Soka.
tweaked.
Yeah.
I catch myself saying Ang sometimes too. Like it's like, and then I'm like, no, it's Ang. Never mind. Because there's just some phonetical sounds that we are more used to pronouncing. Like you're more used to saying A, so Agnikai, or Ang, right? Like the A sound. Whereas for us, it's a lot of sounds.
Okay. So that's why they did Soka instead of Sokka.
Yeah, because there is no particular like. I mean, there is, but it's a little. I guess I don't know how to explain it, but the sounds like Sokka, like the is very hard to make. Like there's no alphabet attributed to that sound.
Mm-hmm.
There's an A, but there's an A, there's an O, but there's no like aw, if you know what I mean. I don't know if those sounds sound any different to other people, but they're very different sounds. And you're sometimes used to saying certain sounds because they're used that much. They're like the vowels, the bread and butter of the sounds. So like is like literally A. The letter A. It's so important. It's in so many words. The first alphabet. Is like the first alphabet that you learn. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. And I mean, again, I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. I'm just saying that it would be nice if you tried to keep it, because people, when they hear it on TV, like there's a lot of stuff that we pick up from the stuff that we watch. If you pay attention or if you spend the time to keep it more authentic, it translates onto the audience. And they listen to it and they're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why they did it like that. I wonder why they say Agnikai and not Agnikai. And they'd go searching on the internet and they're like, oh, because that means fire in Hindi and they're using the same word. You see what I'm saying? Like it would force people, or it would at least spark an interest.
Yeah, I mean, for a show that like bases itself off of an authentic Asian like lens that they're putting up to this fantasy world. Yeah, changing that stuff, adapting it more for a Western audience is, that's pretty disingenuous.
I mean, I can understand like you, and I don't. It's not like I don't appreciate, like, because they do a good job of portraying a part of the world into the Western society that you're not used to seeing portrayed in media in this way. So it's great, but that also gives them some more concessions in the sense that if they do use those words, people won't be confused or won't be like, why the hell would they do that? It makes sense. Like they had as a show that was doing that, they had the opportunity to go a bit farther and sort of keep that. Like, again, I don't know what went into writing and then eventually scripting, and at what point, whether they just from the start didn't have it like that, or if they changed it and later. Like, again, it's one word, and like, again, nobody cares, but it would have been nice. Like, you don't realize, like, this show has impacted so many people. It would have impacted a little more.
It'd been better if they had a more clearer lens for Asian people to see themselves in a Western media perspective.
Exactly.
I guess Western media is so pervasive.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
World,
so it would have been nice to see that sort of Asianness seeping into the script, into the sound, into the phonetics. Yeah. Again, which is to say that, like, Avatar holds a gold standard because it does such a good job of like portraying these cultures and sort of doing justice to a good extent to the Eastern culture, to the Eastern sort of world. And there will always be arguments to be made when someone from the West decides to depict Eastern culture and show it in Western society. There will always be arguments against that.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Whitewashing or cultural appropriation,
right?
I should say. Not. And does Avatar count as cultural appropriation, or is there? Well, I'm sure there's a discussion to be made, but like, what is the line, and is there a line?
Well, so the idea of cultural appropriation essentially stems from the thought process or the ideology that when a brown person does it, it's bad, but if a white person does it, suddenly it's a trend. So a sort of exploitation of something that is cultural has meaning in heritage and culture and the society being taken from that context and then used by a different culture or a different race to perpetuate something that's completely opposite or has nothing to do with where the stuff came from.
Okay, I have a question then, really quick, because I remember do you know who Selena Gomez is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so she's a Latina person. And I remember she got flack, I think, a little while ago for cultural appropriation. I think Indian culture specifically.
Possibly, yeah.
Correctly. Or if even it was a thing.
I don't remember. I'm not
I don't remember clearly, but you were talking about when brown people do it, it's not, or it is, people see it as cultural appropriation.
Well, when brown people do it, again, it's like
backwards?
when whatever culture, the originating culture is doing it. So it's the same thing with like dreads and stuff, right? Like black people are forced to maintain quote unquote professional hairstyles, so they're not allowed to keep dreads and braids and stuff. But in the media, when a white person is wearing that, it is suddenly a trend, right? When these people aren't even allowed to go to the workplace wearing a headdress or wearing a hairstyle that is normal to them, that is something that is part of their culture. Like that's where cultural appropriation comes into place, where it's like if we do it, we do it as part of our culture, it's beneath you. But when someone from your culture decides to take it and wear it, it's suddenly a trend amongst your society.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, so putting that lens on Avatar, then they are, I guess.
And I mean,
I wouldn't even say they're glorifying the Asian culture.
Like in my opinion, and I'm no expert on cultural appropriation. I haven't like spent time studying and reading and whatever systematic annihilation of culture or whatever. Like I haven't spent time learning about this or reading about this. But from what I understand cultural appropriation to be, in my opinion, Avatar does not engage in that kind of appropriation. Like they're very good at sort of showing a culture and also maintaining sort of physical features of those cultures and not just having all the characters be white and blonde or, stereotypically white. Like, you can see...
Are there any white people in the show?
I don't think
there's
so.
no blonde people anywhere, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, except for the water princess with like white hair, but that was for a reason too, right?
Well, that's that's
exactly.
magic. You can't blame magic.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not blaming. I'm just like pointing out, like, that was because of the magic. Like, as far as I remember, there weren't particularly any blonde people, which, I mean, it makes sense, right? If they're working off like an Eastern societal culture, there's not much in the name of blonde hair, except for like artificial coloring or something.
There's a lot.
Oh
of that.
yeah. But like, I didn't notice it, at least from what I remember. Like, I was always very happy to see that.
It's either brown or black.
Yeah, and I was always very happy to see that. Like, there was there was people of colors. They were all around, hairstyles. They used the clothing, different hairstyles, and then had it like tweaked it a little bit to fit the, because naturally it's fiction. No matter how much it's inspired off of something, there's always some changes.
One of my favorite aspects of Avatar is the just amount of different cultures within a singular culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, even in this episode, we see the Airbenders who have a segregated based on gender.
Yeah, so they're separated out.
It's
their temples are different, essentially.
Right. So it's it goes a long way to portraying a society that Aang idolizes,
right,
but also shows that it's not all, nobody was perfect. It's a society that had its own flaws.
Yeah, exactly.
Weaknesses.
And I mean, you can see that even, and what's interesting is that even though Aang comes from this sort of society, you can tell that he's been around the world too, so it's not surprising for him to see men and women together, or like in different sort of cities, seeing people being around, not necessarily following a monk-like lifestyle, and he doesn't have a problem with it, because it's like, yeah, well, these people live in different places, and naturally they're not going to be doing the same thing that I did. And there's a sense of sort of an understanding of diversity and like a tolerance for, just because it's not the same as what I do doesn't mean it's wrong, which is very interesting, because like one of his friends later on, you're like, whose name is Bhumi, which also means earth. Like, it's a Hindi word that means earth. Like, you see,
which is weird because he's Chinese. The Earth Kingdom's based on China.
It's interesting.
Which I guess is really close to India.
It's interesting because, like, even when they say Agni Kai, like, there's no meaning for the word Kai in Hindi, but I'm sure, it has a different meaning in a different language, right? So it's a nice, like, merger of languages. Like, it's interesting. Right. And like, you can see that he's interacted with Bhumi, and he's seen the Earth Kingdom and enjoys hanging out with him. So it's very cool, and it's a very cool protagonist to look at, because he's not like a big buff guy trying to beat down the baddies. Like, as much as those are entertaining in their own right, it's nice to see something different.
Well, I mean, every bender has a different sort of physique to them. Like, airbenders are lithe and skinny. Earthbenders are more muscular because they gotta use force on everything. Firebenders have a more pointed edge to them. And waterbenders are
they're just there. They're all flowy and nice.
They're all flowy and they They move smoothly.
Yeah, and
movements.
it's very cool, and like you can see the different cultures even between the cities. So like we saw like the water tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to see because like there are water tribes. Then there's like the the monk system for the airbenders, and then the sort of the earth kingdom and the fire kingdom. They have like these large cities that are like cities. They're big cities. They have this very established and institutionalized system put into place, and there's like mail systems and like carts, and they have like a bigger city, and then they even have like the outskirts of the city, which I think they show in one of the episodes where they're kind of like out. I think it was in Ba Sing Se, right, where they were kind of like hypnotized.
Yeah, they just walk around the city. They just spend an episode walking around the city and like seeing different things. What kind of other show would do that? Even now.
To like explore. You can tell there was a lot of like lore and a lot of thought that went into these different kingdoms and their cities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's a like we got all these shows that are definitely aping off of Avatar and being influenced by it, which is a really good thing because it's
right,
it's Avatar. But that's one aspect that they don't really take from it is I think they paint a lot of their like big worlds in really broad strokes. Exactly. Because the world is more of a message rather than a vehicle for the story. And I'm not putting shame on anything.
Right. Show. A lot of things have a lot of different. I mean, again, there's a lot of visions are very different, right? No matter how you're inspired by something, what's going to turn out is going to be ultimately much different. But I mean, yeah, definitely.
But it goes to making the world feel real and alive. Exactly.
Which again, like the Avatar just does such a good job. Like there's so much detail in the way that they show these cities and the cultures. And how like even the gender norms are different for all of the cultures, and you see that especially in the first season where Katara is trying to learn waterbending, and when she goes to, is it the Northern Water Tribe?
Yes.
Right. So she's from the south that got like attacked and brutally like dismembered. But it's like she goes to the the Northern Water Tribe, and she realizes, oh, none of the women are taught waterbending, and she's like, well, nah. Oh hell no. That ain't right. Yeah, exactly. Kosher. That ain't right. So it's very interesting to see that. It's very cool.
Yes. In terms of animation, it's
so good.
Beautiful in a lot
of
ways.
There's so much movement.
Well, there's because they really like they're working on a limited animation budget and style, but they get so much out of not even a lot of like important stuff. Like Aang in this episode does the air scooter, and you see him doing a whole like combat or not combat, but like what's the word, kata for it, which is a martial arts movement, like a repeated movement that you do. Like you'll see them practicing katas, and it's just like so beautifully animated, and you see every like detail of his of what he's doing. And then you've got other things like Appa flying through the sky is just them moving Appa across the background, which is fine.
But I mean, it doesn't look weird though. It doesn't look like glitched out and like
no.
weird, glitchy and weird. It doesn't look like that. It looks fluid.
Because they don't hold on the shot
it's fluid.
forever.
Everything is very fluid. Their expressions are so good.
Right. Oh god, yeah, the expressions. Just the
They're
old
amazing.
fisherman's like just whole movement and expressions. It goes back to what we were talking about in Mission Hill. Every character kind of has their own movement style.
Exactly. Yeah, and like just the eyebrows. Like you don't realize how important eyebrows are until you like see a bad animation and then you look at good ones and you're like, yeah, no, those eyebrows important. They do work. They do work.
They do work.
And I mean, like even the shadows when they were by the fireplace.
Oh yeah.
Just like the flickering shadows too, like not even just plain shadows, just the flickering as they're at near the fire. There's like the the fire moves, right? So the flickering shadows on their faces and around them, their bodies, is so nicely done. And it must have needed so much work, and so much like precision, to do it. To just be like no, and persistence to do it. Just be like no, we gotta do this right.
It's usually one person. Well, not one person, but like one group of people's job to do stuff like that, I believe. I know for like effects, that's like a specific group of people who are taught to do that. Like effects animation is completely different from just regular animation. And doing it is an art form unto itself.
Right.
And lighting is an art form unto itself too.
I bet. I mean, I've had drawing classes and sort of working with light and shadow. So my teacher would basically like give us an object. Would be a sphere. Spheres are the worst to do, but she'd give you a sphere and she'd be like, okay, well now the light source is here, so shade it based on how the light source affects this object. So with shadows and like shading and everything, it's a nightmare. It is the worst. But when you get it right, it looks so good.
Yeah, and
it's very meticulous work. And they did a really good job of it.
Yes,
I enjoyed it. Avatar is great.
Speaking of lighting, the complete stark contrast in lighting between Aang and Zuko's backstories. Aang's bright lights, washed out colors.
Right.
Zuko, dark, menacing, deep shadows everywhere. Just
it's very interesting because they both give you that effect too, right? Because like Aang's story happened like 100 years ago, whereas Zuko's story is somewhat recent in time too. So they have that faded look to Aang's stuff with, as compared to like Zuko's more recent backstory, which has like sharp edges and then shadows and
it's almost
contrasting. Yeah, and like contrast colors. So like the red and black contrast, the red orange palette. And every time they do show like the Fire Kingdom, it's always kind of like that, like deep contrast and sort of a menacing air to it.
I think that changes in season 3 when they actually get there and start learning about the Fire Nation.
Right.
And what it actually is about, and the shadows leave.
Yeah, because you actually start to learn about them, and like it's less of a mystery and like a giant shadow and blob.
Right. It's not a huge malicious force. It's a group of people who have been taught one thing, and they're good people, but they just believe something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's all they've known. Also, the just lighting in the Agni Kai.
Yes.
The deep backlighting of the Fire Lord. tied his
Yes,
face.
it was so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole sequence
And
is
like,
great.
what's his sister's name? I forget everyone's name. Like, while we're recording, I don't remember anyone's name. But like, 2 a.m. in the morning, I will remember everything that you need me to remember. I don't understand. But his sister, Azula, yes. Just her expressions too. That's like that manic expression on her face.
Yeah.
Is very. It's just very, and like Iroh's like concerned face naturally. Is, you know, you can see that contrast. You can see the difference in the expressions. They don't have the same blank face. Which is very good.
Yeah. No, they have great expressions. Is there anything else?
Not particularly, James. How do you rate?
Oh wait, one more thing. One more thing before that.
Okay.
Mariya, is it Avatar or Avatar?
I mean, I've always called it Avatar.
Because in the Shyamalan movie, it's Avatar.
Okay, so it's very interesting because there's a Hindi word called avatar, which basically means a form. Like a or a like a form. Like you would be like something that has different forms, so it would be one form. And it's very interesting because like the avatar is basically the same powers in a different form, in a different body. So I don't know if that's what they were going for. In which case, like the word is avatar. Like that's the Hindi word.
Okay.
So
I think we got a case of anglicizing there.
I mean, again, it's very interesting. And like they've done it with most of the words that they take. So again, it's a lot of anglicizing involved. It kind of happens with like genies too. The word genie.
Yeah.
So the Arabic word is, the plural is jinn, which is many of them, and jinni, which is one, but it's anglicized as genie. You know, that's how it. Like there's nothing. I suppose there's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of words, English words, that we say back at home in Hindi, which have been contorted to fit the phonetics of it, to fit the Hindi phonetics that you wouldn't even recognize because of the way that they are being said, but they come from English, right?
Right.
It's kind of like that. It happens, and I'm not upset by it, and it's not like a giant atrocity that they do that. It's natural for something like that to happen, but also the fact that if you are using it, you can, if especially in a society and culture where you are prone to converting an Eastern culture to something Western. You can always try to use the authentic root of it, and it would definitely add more flavor to it.
Right.
It's not like a make or break thing. It would add flavor.
Then why did Shyamalan have everybody say Avatar?
I don't know. I honestly don't. Again, I don't know what thought process went behind the movie.
Very little.
And why he decided to do that. Like, there's very obvious situations where you could, if you were trying to bring back the roots of these things, there are very obvious situations where you can do that. But that's just kind of going out of the way almost. I don't know. Again, I don't remember much of the movie. I don't remember if the actors were white or if they were like brown people or other people of color or what was happening. Like I honestly don't remember most of the movie.
I don't remember if the main characters. I mean, what's his name? The Zuko was played by the guy that was in Slumdog Millionaire,
Oh, I do remember that a little bit.
and General. Now I'm the one forgetting names. Who's the main bad guy from the first season? The general.
I don't
No.
remember his name.
Don't remember his name. Zhao.
Oh yeah, Zhao. Yes.
Yeah, he was played by Asif Manvi.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't understand what the thought process was behind, because the other, I don't know. Might have to do some more research on that, but I don't know what.
Don't bother.
I don't know why he did what he did with the movie and what. Yeah, I got nothing.
It's terrible. Don't even bother.
No, I won't. But again, it's like, man, I got nothing.
I got nothing either.
How do you rate the show, though?
I mean, as a whole,
Yes,
it's Avatar.
exactly.
It's like one of the greatest shows ever made.
Exactly.
It's funny. It has great action, believable and deep character moments.
Mm-hmm.
The world is so vast and detailed, and just you want to live in it
Yep.
because it feels so believable and real. The story is epic but personal at the same time.
Right.
The mythology and the history of everything is so ingrained in everything, and it's interesting, and you want to just know more and more and more and never stop. Like there's like very few things that are wrong with this show,
Right.
and it's brilliant, and I give it 5 finger. It gets a fifth finger.
It gets a fifth finger. Okay, I have to agree with that. It's definitely very enjoyable, and I loved every part of it. Like I binged that thing. I binged it. I binged it all. It was great. Who's your favorite character, James?
Yep. That's a good question, because I don't really know. Like they're all like, I don't hate any character in the show, really.
That's fair.
Well, I'm sure there's some like one-off characters that I don't really like, but I mean, God, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. I see.
Because I love them all.
That's fair. I love them all too. They're all great.
I just want to give them all a big hug.
Yeah.
Geez, if I had to pick one,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably Katara
That's fair.
or Toph. Probably Toph is my favorite one. Because she just comes into the show and just like changes the whole dynamic of the
She's
show for a while.
amazing. I love her. But my favorite is always gonna be Iroh. Like he's the best. I love him. His scenes are glorious.
Iroh.
He's just so calming and nice, and he's also freaking badass. But he likes tea and like food, and likes to play pai show. And is like super calm and chill. And
I don't know if you know, Mariya, but his voice actor Mako died during the production of Avatar.
That makes me a little sad.
Yeah, it should. Mako was a great actor who he was in a bunch of stuff, and just like that voice of his is just so unique. They did get a really good person to impersonate him in the last season of
Right.
Avatar. I don't think anybody can say that.
Yeah, I didn't
They
particularly notice.
yeah. Yeah, they did a good job. Same for Samurai Jack. He was Aku in Samurai Jack.
Yeah, I can
And
see
they
that. I'll hear that, but
Yeah.
that really adds up.
Mm-hmm. So rest in peace, Mako.
What are we watching next time, James?
So Disney has that stupid Lion King movie coming out.
Woo!
Yay. The quote unquote so hard that my fingers fall off, quote unquote, live action.
I know.
Goddamn.
It's
Why do you hate animators so
the
much,
whole
Disney?
thing is CGI anyway.
It is the dumbest and most offensive to animators thing you could do to take these people's work, it's their hard work, and just slap it on a thing that says live action. And it's
So anyway,
also the movie looks terrible.
what are we watching for Hell in the Cell?
Oh, fine, right. So we're gonna go back into Lion King's past and watch the Timon and Pumbaa show.
Yeah, I watched that show as a child. It was a lot of fun.
I also watched that show as a child.
I enjoyed it.
Yes. We'll see.
Sweet.
Yeah,
See
that's
you guys
it.
next week.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Oh wait, how can people support us?
Fuck. Hold on.
Did you forget?
You can support us by leaving us a like or a comment, or if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, then you can leave us a review. We would love that. Or you could follow us on our social media. We also stream on Monday, so you can come check us out there.
Where do we stream?
On Twitch. Stream on Twitch. Yes.
There you go.
There we go.
Mm.
All our social media is Chaotic Silly, no space. And if you feel particularly generous, you could give us $1, and for $1 every month, you get our Movie Night in Hell podcast, which is us watching animated movies that are somewhat loosely related to either one of the episodes that month. And we sit and talk about the movies instead of a TV show.
Except for this month where it's free.
Except for July, where it's free because it's Christmas in July, you guys. Yay!
Yay.
And for Christmas in July, we're watching Shrek. So tune in for that. See you guys next week.
It's gonna. Bye.
Bye.